Ryota Seto woke up and found himself in a maze-like place after he heard a sound that made him feel like he was in a video game until he found a blonde girl with a large hammer standing staring at him with many question marks in her mind as he appeared from inside one of the slime creatures that she crushed, and inside the slime were supposed to be beings, not humans. Ryota didn't understand what she was trying to explain to him, so she went to a nearby slime and killed it, and then a being appeared in its place. What? She told him that first level slimes extract beans after they die, but he still felt irritated that he didn't understand anything about what was going on around him. She told him that everything in this world comes from monsters, which made him stare at her with a stupid look on his ridiculous face, and he started asking her if they were in Japan or Earth in general, but she didn't know what he was talking about. He asks her if there are other monsters besides slimes, and she tells him that they are the only level 1 monsters in Telulu and that they are too weak to face any other creatures. Ryota is surprised to learn that she can level up like a video game.
My life is like a video game.
So she goes to the so-called dashboard and shows him her stats and finds that her name is Emily and her abilities are based on physical strength, but most of her stats are F-ranked. Emily told him that he should level up to be able to collect more plants and maybe get other plants. He was curious to look at his own stats, but found that all his stats were at the lowest level and he would not be able to level up beyond level 1. Ryota was frustrated by his pathetic stats, and Emily told him that he might not be able to get any extraction or collect plants at this rate, but he was surprised at the idea that his stats were S-ranked and yet classified as inferior, as he had always thought S was higher than A. He was curious to try it out and started looking for something to use as a weapon. Emily gave him her hammer, but he could not hold it with one hand as it seemed to weigh 100 kilograms to him.
I beg your pardon?
So she gave him a bamboo spear, which looks like a child's weapon from its size, but it is suitable for Ryota's current strength. Then a slime appeared in front of them, and Ryota kept trying to hit it, but the slime was too fast for him, so he managed to get rid of it, and they found that he had gotten a lot of extraction compared to what Emily had gotten since they met, and she told him that she had never seen so much before. Ryota then realized that his theory about the S rank was correct, and when he asked her if she had seen anyone with this rank, she told him that she had never heard of it before. They sat down to eat the food they had collected together, and Emily was surprised that Ryota's eyes were watering involuntarily and thought that her food tasted bad, but he told her that it was the first time in a long time that he had sat down to eat warm food with another person. Then he began to tell her about his life and that he was working so hard at his job that he would come home late every night after they assigned him unpaid overtime and had to eat some snacks from the grocery store until his health was adversely affected and he was hospitalized, and after he recovered he decided to make up for the time he spent in the hospital by working overtime until he died and found himself in this world extracted by a slime. The fate of those who work hard nowadays. Emily consoled him and tried to encourage him by saying that every hard worker is destined to succeed in the end, and that the harder he works, the greater his success will be, and that it may seem like a good opportunity for him to be reborn and get what he deserves in his next life. So Ryota sat crying in her arms. Afterward, he felt relieved and thanked her for comforting him, then decided to look for a place to stay. She told him that there was a town nearby, and he was surprised to learn that she was sleeping in the maze, as she told him that her extracts were too small to make much money to stay in an inn. She gave him the bamboo spear before he left so that he wouldn't have any difficulties on his way to the city, and when he told her that he would return it to her someday, she told him that she was always on the first level of the labyrinth. After a few days, Ryota got used to living in the new world and gained some knowledge about currency and how to get money and food as he continued to eliminate slimes and extract plants from them to sell or save for himself. After 3 days, he managed to rent a house after earning a lot of money and hosted Emily in it and told her that it was just an old apartment at 87 years old, so he was able to rent it easily, and Emily was surprised when he gave her the key and told her that she would live in this house from now on and he would take care of the rent, and told her to consider this as a thank you for the soup she gave him the other day. When she took a closer look at him, she saw that he was in a pitiful state due to the hard work he had done in 3 days, and the dark circles were bigger than his eyes because he was used to hard work, which is the reason he died in the previous life anyway. Emily indirectly asked him to live with her in this house and she would make his favorite soup every day. After that, Ryota would go to a girl named Urza to give her what he extracted from the slime in exchange for money. Then he thought about trying the second level of the Tolola maze to make more money. She told him that there is a new maze that recently appeared in this world called Hinenholm, and before he left she offered to go together after work for a beer at a nearby shop, but he apologized and asked her to do it next time. In the evening, Ryota returned home feeling nostalgic as he hadn't entered a place where no one had been waiting for him in decades and wondered what he should say when he entered the house, and when he entered he found Emily greeting him with a beautiful smile and was surprised that she was able to clean the entire house and make it look completely new, but to him him it seemed like she had remodeled it. He then told her about the new maze that had recently appeared, and she told him that it looked like a useless maze since there were no materials to extract, while Ryota found that it made the maze more interesting. After that, he went to the maze alone, and when he entered, he found that there were no living creatures around until he was surprised by the appearance of a skeleton near him and tried to attack it, but it dodged him, causing the pillar nearby to shatter from his blow. So Ryota tried to hit it with bamboo after the pillar fell on top of him. Ryota felt frustrated that he looked weak as he was level 1 and his attacks wouldn't affect high-level monsters. After the skeleton died from the falling pole, Ryota found that he had dropped a seed that emitted a bright light and then suddenly disappeared. When he returned to Emily, she was shocked to see that his health score had risen even though he was still level 1. Realizing that this was the effect of the seed, he continued to eliminate skeletons in the maze, and Emily joined him and they began to do some research and discoveries. When Emily eliminated a skeleton, she was unable to get its seed for some unknown reason, while Ryota was able to pick it up and get its effect easily. But Emily was amazed at his ability to raise his stats and gain strength despite being stuck at level 1, and Ryota realized that the Nihonium maze only raises stats for S-rankers. A few days later, Ryota succeeded in upgrading his health points to rank S and wanted to go try the second level of the Talolo maze. Emily was worried about him and told him not to do anything rash as he was working too hard to earn money and gain power. Ryota remembered his previous life and that no one cared about him or worried about him no matter what he did, and felt grateful to have Emily in his life and told her that he would be back before midnight. The next day, Ryota went to the maze and continued to eliminate the monsters that got in his way, and was surprised that he did not take much damage when one of the slimes attacked him and was able to extract a huge carrot after the death of the slime. Then he found a mysterious person who joined him after he crushed a slime with his superpower, and found a group of people with him who started making fun of him when they realized he was level 1 and advised him to turn back if he didn't want to die. Then Ryota noticed that there was something behind him and found that it was a girl with rabbit ears. And when she found out that he was level 1, she told him that she hated low-level people and left quietly. After he returned home with his carrot plant, he told Emily that he had made a lot of money thanks to him, and thought that if he could sell the carrots for a month, he would make more money. A knock on the door interrupted his thoughts, and when he opened it, it was the girl with the rabbit ears, and she slapped him again and told him that she hated low-level people. And when he asked her if she needed something from coming to his house, he was surprised that she told him that she loved him.
What the hell?
Emily was surprised when she saw the bunny standing in front of their house and told him that she loved him. Ryota wondered to himself if it was normal in this world for rabbits to live among humans. Then they were shocked when the bunny slapped that man who bullied him in the maze and died instantly, and told him that she hit him with the same blow that she hit him. But he was still alive in front of her, and she wondered why he was not affected by her blow despite his low level. When he asked her why she came to their house, she gave him a large carrot and told him that he had dropped it on his way out of the maze, and asked him to give her more carrots. When she saw the amount of carrots they had in the house, she drooled because she loved carrots so much that Emily offered to have dinner with them. Ryota was surprised that she didn't at least tell them her name, while Emily felt grateful to him and told him that before she moved into the house she used to eat alone, and now she was happy to share food with him. Ryota remembered his previous life and that he was no different from her. Then she interrupted his thoughts, and they agreed to eat their meals together from now on. The next day, Ryota went to the second level of the Nihonium labyrinth, thinking about becoming stronger to preserve everything he enjoys in this world, and facing more corpses and zombies and managing to beat them. But he was surprised that the bamboo spear broke inside one of the corpses, and he had to use his bare hands to defeat it. When he dropped a seed, Ryota easily picked it up and discovered that the second level of extraction helps to increase his power level. He noticed the rabbit watching him from afar and then approached him and hit him and asked him what kind of extraction he got, and he thought not to tell her the truth if he didn't have to. She asks him if he has any carrots, and when he realizes that's all she needs, she tells him that his life depends on whether he has carrots or not. He feels like he's in trouble, and she tells him that they have to go to Talolo to get carrots. At the end of the day, Ryota was able to extract a large amount of carrots, and his strength rose to rank D. When he went to exchange carrots for money, he found the hare waiting for him inside the guild, and everyone marveled at his audacity to simply walk up to her and give her a carrot from his harvest. Then Urza approached him and asked him if he knew her. He was confused whether he knew her or not since she hadn't told him her name yet, and everyone was amazed when he said that he had given her some carrots and invited her to dinner at his house once, and that's why she loved him. Urza offered to buy the carrots from him for twice their value and told him that the rabbit rabbit named Evie Callislider is known as the killer rabbit and can split anything in half with one blow and has spilled a lot of blood on people because they gave her bad tasting carrots, so any carrots that she likes are sold at a higher price. When he got the money, he found that he would make 10 times more if he sold carrots for a whole month. Evie appeared in front of him and asked him to give her more carrots, but he told her that he would get more tomorrow, and she almost hit him, but he grabbed her hand amidst everyone's surprise and told her that he promised Emily to stop working at a certain time, and she left the syndicate feeling angry. The next day, Emily's company managed to collect a huge amount of carrots, and when he went to look around, he found a girl with an axe and tried to split a slime, but in vain. Then she seemed tired and almost fainted, but her friend caught her just in time. Then he found an old man approaching them and heard them call him the leader, and the old man cut the slime with one blow of his sword. When his followers asked him to rest, he looked at them angrily, called them weak, and began to tell them about his incredible achievements when he was their age. That he managed to survive for weeks in the maze to become that strong, and that he wanted them to become as strong as him. Ryota remembered his boss at his previous life's work, and that he was a very toxic boss who gave them impossible tasks and tried to convince them that it was in their best interest to work on them, and realized that such scum existed everywhere and at all times. Then he returned to Emily to have lunch together inside the maze, and was surprised to find Evie rushing towards them to catch up on her portion of the food. Emily gave her a small plate of sweetened carrots, and while they were enjoying their meal, old Ryota and his students were nearby, staring at them and calling them slackers. Evie rushed over to them and split a large carrot and put it in his students' mouths. When they ate it, they realized that it was a high-quality carrot. She then went over to the old man and told him that carrots are delicious even without hard labor, and when he couldn't object, he quietly left with his students. Afterward, they went to the guild to sell what they had gotten during the day. He told Urza that he got more loot but couldn't carry all the crops, so she suggested he get a magical cart to collect the crops in larger quantities. Ryota and Emily decided to go shopping for a cart, and there they met a little girl named Olga. When they told her that they were customers, she called her father to take care of them. When Ryota told him that he wanted to buy a magic cart, he suggested a cart with monster detection, but he was surprised to learn that it cost 10 million, while a normal cart costs 2 or 3 million. After that, they left the store and thought that it was impossible to get a magic carriage right now. Then they were surprised by a commotion in the street next to them, and everyone panicked here and there, and when Ryota questioned, Emily told him that there was a stray monster that came out of one of the mazes, and then they saw that it was a huge gorilla that causes buildings to destroy around them. When he found everyone running away from confronting it, Emily said that stray monsters do not leave spoils behind, so everyone avoids confronting them because they are not worth the trouble. Then they found the merchant carrying his daughter Olga on his back and running away with everyone and advised them to run away. But when he saw Urza unable to move in front of the gorilla, he went to save her and blocked the gorilla's strike just in time. Then Evie took advantage of the gorilla's lax defense. Then Urza thanked Ryota for saving her and felt sad about what happened to the city because of the gorilla. And then he found Emily with her hammer ready to fight. Everyone cooperated and joined forces to overcome the stray gorilla, and Ryota was able to get close enough to it and defeated it with only 2 blows amid everyone's encouragement and cheers for him for saving the city of Sikru. And Ryota felt happy as he was the first time he was recognized for something he did. Then he was surprised when he heard a sound that suggested that the gorilla left a booty after its death, as stray monsters do not leave booty behind according to Emily's words. When Ryota approached the gorilla's body, he found a gun and some ammunition, and he was surprised that he got a weapon that shouldn't exist in this world from a stray beast that shouldn't leave any trophies behind. The next day, he went to the 2nd level of the Nihonium Labyrinth to try out his new weapon. Then he fired a zombie and easily defeated it, so he continued to eliminate them with it, wondering if the way to get more ammunition would be from a stray monster like the gorilla. In the meantime, Emily was on the 2nd level of Telulu, eliminating slimes and collecting carrots until Ryota joined her and eliminated one of them with his gun. And when they sat down to eat lunch together, he told her that his weapon is useful against monsters and his strength has become B rank thanks to it. Then they realized that Evie has not come to eat with them lately. Ryota is surprised by Emily's violent behavior against the cockroaches and manages to get the pumpkin after crushing it. On their way, Ryota thinks that they have to get out of this level quickly because he doesn't want to see that scary version of Emily again. But they soon found a bunch of cockroaches in front of them, and Emily started to lose control and felt that she might not be able to regain her humanity again, so Ryota had to take matters into his own hands and shoot the cockroaches. After a while, they succeeded in killing all the cockroaches and taking their crops, but they were still faced with the issue of not being able to carry it all with them on the way back, and that's when they were surprised by the presence of Evie after she pushed the loot away with force, and he felt relieved that she had saved him from Emily's hostile behavior towards the cockroaches and the loot. When they got out of the maze, they found that there were some damaged crops that had been eaten by the monsters, and when Emily Emily smashed the ground with her hammer. Ryota was surprised that cockroaches came out of everywhere, even though they were out of the maze, and Emily continued to be violent towards the cockroaches greedily while he tried to kill as many cockroaches as possible out of fear of her. After they head to the guild, Urza tells him that monsters appear around the loot he leaves behind even if they're outside the mazes, and when she wants to ask him out to dinner, he thinks about whether he can make stray monsters appear on purpose. Then he gets an idea and rushes out of the guild without listening to a word Urza says. In the evening, Ryota threw a carrot on the road and hid, waiting for a monster to appear, but found Evie rushing towards it to eat it, and when he tried to stop her, she told him that she wouldn't leave the carrot no matter what he did because carrots were made for rabbits. So he had to use another carrot and observe the situation and found that a slime had already appeared where the carrot was. Then the slime turned into a bunch of bullets and he realized that it was a way to get ammunition for him. He then tried to apply the idea to the seed that boosts his stats but failed to keep it for long. He thought that when his power reaches the highest rank, he might be able to carry the seed without consuming it. On his way out, he encountered a skeleton, and when he kicked it away, he realized that he kicked it out of the maze and thought that he would turn into a stray monster, but was surprised to find that it had disappeared. When he went to the guild, Urza told him that monsters disappear after exiting the maze or when moving to another floor inside the maze, so he went back to the maze and decided to try taking out a normal monster outside the maze to give him credit for defeating a stray monster. When he did so, he found that he had obtained a frozen bullet, and when he tried it out, he knew that he would achieve a lot with it depending on how he used it. The next day, he combined his attack with Emily's, freezing the slime in place while Emily rushed over and smashed it with her hammer. In the evening, after the rain had stopped, they were on their way home and found a man and a woman arguing with each other. When they approached, the man asked them to pull the cargo in exchange for the woman paying them a sum of money. Ryota found the cart at the bottom of the hill with no way to reach it. When the woman told them it had been a long time since the cart fell there, Emily thought the spoils might turn into stray beasts of burden, so she used her powers to burn the cart to ensure that there were no monsters inside. But the man stopped her before the fire reached her, then told her that he had collected a large amount of perfume to sell for a large sum of money. And while they were arguing, they were surprised that the man suddenly tried to attack the woman, and then they realized that something had possessed him. The woman tells them it's a monster called Femini, a disembodied monster that possesses humans and uses them as incubators for reproduction. Ryota decides to use his gun on it and succeeds in killing the monster, freeing the man and getting some ammunition. But noticing that the Femini has reappeared and intends to take the loot, the woman decides to go down to protect the carriage and asks them to gather an army from the city in case it turns into an incubator. When Ryota asks her what will happen to her if she becomes an incubator, she tells him that she is responsible for the accident since she was assigned as an escort on this mission. Ryota then remembers when he was working at that toxic company that caused his death, and remembers when one of his colleagues was reprimanded for failing to finish the project on time and had to work again without rest for 5 days. When Ryota wants to help, his colleague tells him that it is his responsibility and that he has his own business and does not have to get involved in his troubles. Ryota regretted his decision to think about himself and not help his colleague that day and decided not to make the same mistake again, preventing the woman from getting on the cart to sacrifice herself for the loot. He decided to use frozen bullets and successfully immobilize the monster while Emily delivered the fatal blow, then turned to him and told him that he had chosen to do the right thing. When they return home, Ryota finds that Emily's stats have risen significantly after defeating the monster and realizes that she is stronger because of him and tells him that she is confident that all good things will happen as long as they are together. A few days later, Ryota and Emily headed to the 4th level of the Tolola Labyrinth and found a group of rare monsters on their way, and when Ryota disposed of a rare slime, he dropped a shiny necklace behind him, so he picked it up and asked Emily to wear it and keep it, as it would help her multiply the loot she would get in the future. Emily was amazed at the amount of loot she got from crushing the monsters and decided to use it to make dinner for them when they got home. After they returned, Ryota felt that she had difficulty moving while cooking due to the limited kitchen space, so he told her that he was thinking of moving to another place after they could save the right amount of money. The next day, Ryota went to the guild to sell some plants. A mysterious girl with green hair was watching him from afar, and when she saw that he had some bamboo, she asked him to give it to her, so he let her take only one. Then he was surprised when she threw it up, cut it with her blade and ate it. He wondered at her eccentric behavior. Then she told him that she wanted to buy all the bamboo he had. He thought she would pay him a certain amount and found that she paid 20,000 bilo, which is a lot of money for bamboo. When he asked Urza about her, she told him that she is called Eric Massey, a gourmet for her hobby of tasting all kinds of food, and any food she likes is sold at a high price. Then suddenly she asked him to sign an exclusive contract for the syndicate since the bamboo will be controversial in the coming period so she can sell it as a branded product, and Ryota agreed when he found her excited about the idea. The next day, Ryota went to the Nihonium labyrinth to increase his strength stats a bit. Then he found a girl waving her sword in front of a skeleton until some of her adventurer friends helped her defeat him and found that she kept the skeleton's skull inside her cart. Then someone approached him and told him that she was Princess Margaret and asked him not to get in their way while they did their work, then told him that they were using the cart to hold and sell the air residue left behind by the Nihonium monsters. Seeing that the magic cart makes it easier for them to get a lot of loot at once and makes them make fewer trips to the maze, he decides to discuss the cart with Emily as soon as he returns. After returning, he tells her that he is torn between buying a new house or a magic cart, and Emily chooses to buy the cart first so that they can make more money in less time and can afford the new house. The next day, they went to the carriage shop and rushed inside when they heard the merchant's daughter Olga crying. When they went to her, she told them that her father hadn't been home for a day and that he told her he was going to pick flowers. Emily realizes that he may have gone to a labyrinth called Arsenic, which is the only place they can get flowers from. Ryota decides to go to the labyrinth to find the merchant, and when they enter, they find many monster heads lined up on the side of the hallway. Ryota was surprised to find the heads lined up in front of them all at once, so he decided to use his weapon to get rid of them, but he found that the monster heads were bulletproof, so Emily smashed them with a hammer and got the flower loot behind them. After some time, they found the merchant lying exhausted, and when they approached him, they found that he was in a deep sleep. Ryota tried to wake him up, but he did not respond to him until he was surprised that Emily's personality changed without warning because she felt angry that he was sleeping despite his daughter's concern for him, and she punctured the ground with a strong blow near him, forcing him to wake up. He asked them what was going on around them, and when he realized that they came to him inside the maze, he told them that he wanted to take a nap. Emily scolded him for leaving his little daughter worried in the store while he took a break inside the flower maze, so he told them that he wanted to get some flowers to work on his new magic wagon model. When he pointed out that he couldn't find a light stone and that the head monsters were getting in his way more than once, the stone was hovering in the air near the ceiling, so Ryota decided to carry Emily over his shoulder to catch the stone. Emily succeeds in hitting the stone with the hammer and destroying it, and makes the old merchant get the purple flower that was missing. And after they get out of the maze, they leave the flower in the open and sit and watch it from afar. Then the flower turned into a light stone again, and the merchant rushed to catch it, but he couldn't get a firm grip on it because it was too high off the ground, so Ryota immobilized it with the frozen bullets so that it would return to the ground after the ice increased its weight, and then they succeeded in catching it. After that, they all returned to the store, and the merchant finished the last modifications to his new cart by putting the 2 stones inside to strengthen it and naming it Orton after himself, then offered Ryota and Emily to take it as a gift. Ryota felt embarrassed and could not accept it, so Orton told him that he wanted to give it to him not only for his help, but also because he helped save their city from a stray gorilla, and he realized that it was a reward for them. As time went on, missions became easier with the magic cart, and they managed to get more loot. When Ryota went to sell crops in the guild, he found a bald man talking sharply to Urza and accusing her of price gouging. When the bald man lost his temper and was about to hit her, Ryota used the frozen bullet to stop him, then walked up to him and told him that he would prove to him that Urza would never lie about the prices. When he took his crops out of the cart, they were all amazed that he had the newly designed Orton cart and a large amount of bamboo. Then he took the bald man's crops and told him that his cart could accurately calculate the price of his goods, and when he put the crops in it, he found that they were the same price that Urza had told him. Despite the accuracy of the calculation, the bald man was not convinced and accused him of conspiring with the store to defraud the adventurers. When the bald man was about to attack him after he broke the ice on his arm, Ryota easily grabbed his hand and knocked him unconscious after slapping him. Urza thanked him for saving her and told him that she is a commodity trader who handles the crops brought by adventurers with care and accuracy and wants to make everyone feel safe and confident to sell their goods to her. Finding her embarrassed by his constant help, Ryota told her that she was helping him by buying crops from him with a smile and told her that he would protect her when she needed it. She approached him, gave him a quick kiss, and told him that she gave it to him personally, then went back to work, leaving him in a daze. After that, Ryota and Emily continued their daily chores, collecting crops in the cart and earning up to 200,000 pesos per day, and were excited to find that they had enough money to buy a new house. A few days later, they packed up their belongings to leave the house and felt a little sad because they had a lot of memories with this building. Ryota decides to keep the lease on the house so that they can return to it whenever they want. A few days later, Ryota continued to go through the mazes and beat the monsters as usual and began to face a new type of monster in the form of mummies, then found that his bag was empty of ammunition, and when another mummy attacked him, he was able to finish it off with his bare hands thanks to his S-rank power. After that, he went to the syndicate and sat down to relax a little until he was interrupted by the voice of someone who knew his name. When he sat in front of him, he found girls gathered around him and one of them called him Neptune. Ryota began to feel suspicious of him, and when he asked him what he wanted from him, he asked to challenge him to an arm arm wrestling match out of curiosity to see how strong he was. Ryota realized that he might have learned about him after what happened with the bald man that day and felt angry that he had to agree to a duel with him. When the fight began, he found that Neptune's strength was quite good, and their hands were stuck in the middle for a long time until Ryota managed to beat him in front of everyone's eyes. Then he remembered that he had heard Neptune's name from Urza one day and that he was from the family of the most powerful organization in the city. Then Neptune offered him to go another round, but Ryota refused to indulge in it further, but was surprised by Neptune's sudden attack and blocked his blow in time and managed to push him and those behind him away. Although the eccentric Neptune was smiling and admiring Ryota's strength, and then returned to him and offered him to join his family. In the evening, when Ryota returned home, he told Emily what happened to him at the guild and that he rejected Neptune's offer because he had no interest in joining any groups and enjoyed his life as such, while Evie called him a low-level egoist, and Emily told him that she discovered him because he had helped a lot of people and considered him a hero in her eyes. The next day, Ryota heads to the Neonium Labyrinth and thinks about Emily's words until he runs into Princess Margaret's assistants again, and one of them tells him that they'd invented a box called Pandora that automatically absorbs loot. Then the assistant decided to give him some boxes as a gift and asked him to tell his friends about it. Ryota thought to try it out and succeeded in taking the seeds out of the maze without consuming them thanks to the box's ability, and when they appeared in the form of monsters, he eliminated them and got a lot of frozen bullets. After a while, Emily arrived dragging their magic cart in front of her and was surprised to see him standing outside with a bunch of boxes around him, while Ryota continued to follow his strategy to get different types of bullets, but he was surprised by a strong chill that suddenly hit his body. Emily told him that there is a magic storm coming, and when he went to the guild, Urza told him that it is a rare natural phenomenon where no one can use magic during the storm, and he may not be able to use magic even inside the labyrinth, and because of it, magic users take the day off, which leads to a decrease in their loot and will affect the sale of goods. Their conversation was interrupted when a man named Royce barged in and asked for help as his partner Rosa was stuck in the Silicon Labyrinth. Neptune was standing next to him and told him that the Silicon Labyrinth is one of the most annoying places because of its monsters, as they are not harmed by non-magical attacks. When Ryota found that everyone was reluctant to help Royce, he remembered Emily's words and her description of him as a hero, so he decided to go to help him and asked him to tell him the details of the maze, and he told him that Rosa is on the 3rd level of the maze. Ryota went to the maze and eliminated the monsters he met on his way, and then used frozen bullets on him to prevent him from turning into a stray monster, as he does not aim to collect crops for now. Meanwhile, Emily entered the guild and was surprised to find their magic carriage and Ryota not around, while Evie was eavesdropping from behind the wall and knew that Ryota was in trouble after he decided to go to the maze to save one of them. On the other side, Ryota reached the 3rd level and found Rosa lying unconscious on the floor with her clothes torn off, and when a monster appeared in front of him, he almost attacked him, but he was surprised that he ran out of bullets. At that time, Emily and Evie decided to head to the maze to help Ryota, and Emily remembered that he reminded her of her mother, as she was a strong and brave adventurer who helped people until she had to face a stray dragon in a maze and died after she managed to defeat it. So Emily had to carry her body out of the maze so that her belongings would not turn into stray monsters. On the other hand, Ryota carried Rosa on his back and continued to run away from the monsters after he ran out of his special bullets and found that ordinary bullets were not enough to hit the monsters. Then he was surprised to find Emily and Evie heading towards him and was surprised to find zombie monsters chasing them. Then he found that they had brought more bullets in Pandora's box, and they all joined hands to eliminate the magical monsters, and Ryota was able to get more bullets until they finally managed to beat them and get out of the maze with Rosa. When Royce saw her, he found that she was badly injured and would not be able to use the healing magic during the storm to cure her. So Ryota told him that he would take care of her treatment and used the white bullets he got from the mummies and shot them at her to heal her, and when they made sure she was fine, Royce thanked them for helping him and saving his friend, and after they left, Ryota felt happy for their success in saving her, and Emily felt as if she was standing next to her mother at that time. The next day, Ryota went to the guild after he succeeded in obtaining a new commodity, watermelon, and when he showed it to Urza, she asked him to wait until she evaluated the commodity, but their conversation was interrupted when Eric the gourmet joined them and told them that she would evaluate his commodity herself. They found that Eric liked the watermelon so much that all the adventurers were curious to eat it. Urza begged Ryota to give her exclusive sales rights to the watermelon in his name, and Ryota was impressed that the watermelon was as popular as bamboo among everyone. Urza then remembered that Ryota would have to get a license to explore maze levels below level 6, when she realized that watermelons are extracted at level 5, otherwise she wouldn't be able to buy goods from him. After that, he and Emily went to the place responsible for granting licenses to adventurers, and when the supervisor asked him about his achievements, he remembered Urza's advice to say that he usually extracts watermelons from level 5 of the Tolola maze, so the supervisor picked up a watermelon and led them to a hall and told Ryota that he would turn the watermelon into a stray stray monster, and he could get his license for defeating the monster and advised him to be careful as it was a monster he had never seen before. After a while of waiting, the watermelon turns into a steel slime, and Emily realizes that blades won't work on it. So Ryota decides to use his S-Rank power and fight it with his fists. When he punches it, he finds that it is very hard, so he thinks to use his own bullets to finish it off, and then uses a fire and ice bullet and manages to defeat and turn it into a crumb with ease due to the temperature difference. The supervisor was impressed by his genius and gave him a license to explore mazes up to level 6. Then he thought to use his license to do something and asked Emily to help him. A few days later, Ryota got a fish and went to the desert with Emily and waited for it to turn into a stray monster. Emily was shocked to realize that the stray tuna was the gorilla that had attacked their city earlier. Afterward, Ryota easily defeats the gorilla, earning him another gun that will help him easily assemble special bullets, while Emily feels he's on his way to becoming a villain like John Wick or Agent 47. Ryota returned to the guild to sell his crops and found an absent-minded Urza who told him that a strike had been declared by magical adventurers to buy rice from them at a low price, and that level 6 of the Silicon Labyrinth was the only place where rice could be extracted. Ryota went there and met the eccentric Neptune, who came on a request to get rid of the group of adventurers monopolizing the rice. Ryota asked him to let him take care of it himself, and when he went inside, he found them blocking his way, so he used his weapons and fired bullets that temporarily put them to sleep. Ryota is surprised when Neptune appears behind him and asks him how he was able to do that. He tells him that he uses 2 pistols at the same time, which led him to discover countless new abilities with bullets, and then asks him to help him carry the group out of the maze and tie them up. Ryota then meets a man named Clint Gray, the leader of Sekiro City, and Clint asks for his help in a battle for a new maze against the neighboring city of Hetero, as Hetero wants to take over the maze as it extracts meat and vegetables from its monsters. And Hetero is known as a cattle city, and the new maze is located on the road between the 2 cities. Ryota marveled that they determined the right to take over a maze based on its loot, and asked if it was necessary to choose a city for the maze, and Clint told him that it was necessary for commodity taxes and would boost their city's economy. He then added that the 2 cities had decided to determine the ownership of the maze based on who could get the most rare loot, and asked him to help in exchange for a monetary reward if he lost and a tax exemption on all his loot from now on if he won. After Ryota left Clint's office, he felt honored that someone needed his help and relied on him. As he began to think about what he would need for the mission, he remembered his past life when he was preparing for a business trip and packing for it, when he worked hard and pushed himself without getting enough credit. In the evening, he told Emily about his new mission, and she told him that she would take care of their house until he returned from the mission, but he told her that he wanted her to accompany him on the Selene Labyrinth mission. Emily hesitated and felt that she might not be useful to him there, but he told her that he needed her by his side at all times. The next day, they arrived at the appointed place and found nothing of value around them. Emily was amusing herself by drawing on the ground with a stone, so Ryota decided to draw something too, so he drew a bean in the shape of a sperm, and then they continued on their way through the empty desert. In the evening, Ryota was surprised to find that Emily's backpack actually contained a large tent. After they finished setting it up, Ryota went to fetch some water from the lake, and when he returned, he was surprised to find that Emily had decorated the inside of the tent and made it look like a living room in a house. Ryota was amazed that she could carry a tent with home furnishings and a backpack and travel all that way. Then Emily went to burn the garbage outside and was surprised when she told him that she was going to burn it so that it wouldn't turn into stray monsters, as they would become more dangerous and different from their original form. Ryota thought to try to eliminate one of the stray monsters emerging from the garbage. After a long wait, he found that the stray that emerged from their garbage was Frankenstein himself, so he attacked him and managed to burn him with his pistols, and then he obtained a new type of bullet known as a guided bullet, where the bullet follows its target and deviates from its path until it hits it. A few days later, Ryota and Emily arrived at the Selene maze and found the place crowded with people and more like a market. Then they noticed a large pile of garbage, so they thought it was okay as long as the place contained many people, but they were surprised to see a mysterious girl in a red dress who burned the garbage with fire magic. When Ryota looks at the girl, he sees that she is pale and has dark circles under her eyes, and notices that there is another pile of garbage near them and decides to help her before she loses her strength after remembering his miserable past life. When they approach her and ask her to rest, she tells them that she cannot do that as she is responsible for collecting and burning the garbage before it turns into huge stray monsters, and pretends to be strong until she loses consciousness, and Ryota catches her just in time. After the girl fell into Ryota's arms, she got up again to continue her hard work in burning garbage, and Ryota felt that history is repeating itself and there are people who bare themselves in order to work and help others, so he had to shoot her to completely lose consciousness. Then he told Emily that he hypnotized her by combining 2 healing bullets into 1 hit. After a while, the girl woke up inside their tent. When she came out, the sun had set and monsters started appearing through the garbage. Ryota took care of them and finished them all off. Then she discovered that they were doing her job for her, collecting garbage and burning it until she got enough rest. Then they returned to the tent to eat dinner together, and Emily noticed that she resembled Ryota in working hard and crying when eating good food. When she asked the girl what her name was, she said it was Celeste, and then told him the details of what was happening in Celine's labyrinth, and that all the adventurers had come to participate in the battle for a tax exemption on the loot. Ryota realized that Celeste's workload was too much for one person to handle and decided to help her in their spare time. When they wanted to ask her if she could do something other than burning garbage, she fell into a deep sleep as she sat down and realized that she felt safe among them. The next day, they found Celeste feeling much better and able to use her power more often than yesterday, and she thanked them for helping her regain her power thanks to her rest. But she felt embarrassed that they were helping her all the time, so they told her that they wanted to help her so she wouldn't lose all her power like yesterday. Afterward, Ryota and Emily went shopping around and wandered around until they found a merchant selling decorative accessories. Ryota was surprised that someone was selling such things, and the merchant told him that married men were in great demand, and he found that Emily liked the rings despite the high price. He then went to meet the head of Secure City Adventurers, Commander Duke, and they sat down to take a detailed look at the map of the Celine Labyrinth, and Ryota found that it has 10 floors, with vegetables on the odd floors and meat on the even floors, which makes it difficult to determine the fate of the labyrinth since the spoils are equal. He then tells Ryota that he doesn't have to go hunting because the Secret Adventurers will catch rare monsters in the vegetable floors and bring them to him, and to his surprise, Duke has a whole plan centered around him to bring them rare loot effortlessly. Then their conversation was interrupted by an adventurer who came in to tell them that someone had gotten a rare loot in the first maze level, and when they came out, they found an adventurer holding a rare monster. Ryota noticed a suspicious group of adventurers watching the situation, and Duke told him that the leader of the group is named Harvard, who is in charge of the adventurers of Hetero City, and next to him is an adventurer named Eugene, famous for his superior skills despite his F-rank extraction rate. Ryota is surprised that they let an F-ranked adventurer participate in the battle. You're still stuck at tier 1 despite your skills, you idiot, but Duke tells him that Eugene can defeat rare plant monsters that don't yield any loot. Realizing that the purpose of his participation was to reduce the chances of the Sekiro adventurers getting rare loot, he took out the rare monster with a single shot, but to his surprise, it healed itself and became even larger. Harvard and Eugene watched with amusement as they knew the way to get rid of this monster was to destroy its essence somewhere in its body, and when Eugene took the initiative to attack the monster to get his loot, he was surprised that Ryota was able to destroy its essence with a single bullet, and that he knew about it beforehand. After that, Duke gave Ryota a reward and told him to put it in a safe place. He also got the right to keep his loot and sell it at the trading center near the camp. In the evening, Ryota returned to the camp and gave Emily the ring she had admired in the market as a thank you gift. He told her that he had made a lot of money in the first level of the maze, and Emily felt happy and grateful. The next day, they went together to check their stats and found that her stats were increasing at a different pace than usual. Ryota told her that he tried the ring before he gave it to her and found that his monster was something they had never encountered before, and thought that he would buy another ring if he failed to beat it, and that they could earn money with rare monsters, and ended up retrieving the ring after defeating the monster. Then they decided to go to the second level of the Celine Labyrinth to test the ring's powers, and Emily succeeded in getting her first rare loot. Then they were surprised when a rare monster appeared in front of a group of adventurers and attacked Emily, and Ryota decided to use his weapons, but Harvard intervened and thought not to kill the monster so as not to give Hetero's adventurers free loot. Seeing one of the adventurers approaching the monster to cut it down, Emily rushes towards them and gives Ryota the ring before finishing it off, as she won't be able to extract any rewards for her low level, causing the Hetero adventurers to leave in silence. Ryota then encounters Commander Duke, who tells him that the number of Hetero adventurers will double after another batch arrives tonight, and that they intend to fill the odd-numbered floors. So Ryota suggests raising the reward for finding rare monsters to 10 million, so that they can collect as much loot as possible before the end of the day. Duke hesitated, but Ryota told him that he was 100% confident of getting rare loot on the odd-numbered floors, and offered to give him the same amount if they didn't extract anything from the monsters. After some time, Ryota managed to reach the 9th floor and collect all the basic crops from the monsters. Afterward, he faced off against the 8-headed snake, and after killing it, he received an enoki mushroom. Duke admired his skill and courage in facing the monsters, and went to report his accomplishments for the day to the headquarters. Ryota felt proud and remembered that in his previous life, all his suggestions were rejected, while in this world, everyone cooperated with him. On his way back, he found himself surrounded by Hetero adventurers. Then Eugene appeared and told him that he had ruined it for them and prevented them from getting the money. Then they used a magic circle to prevent him from using his weapons, and Eugene vowed to make sure that Ryota could not continue his work. When they attacked him, he decided to use his physical abilities and engaged in a fight with them and managed to knock them out. Then pulled out his guns, and Eugene was shocked that he could use them despite the effect of the circle. Then used healing bullets tablets to heal them and told them that he understands how they feel and doesn't mind them attacking him, but he will never lose to them, and left the maze quietly. The next day, Ryota woke up and found Celeste doing her work outside until she lost her strength and almost fell, so he rushed towards her and she fell into his arms. Then he gave her a healing bullet to boost her strength, and when she regained consciousness, she found that she was close to him and pushed him away, feeling ashamed. He asked her to calm down and then asked her about burning the garbage, as the amount of garbage did not require the use of great power to burn it. She told him that it was the only spell she could use, a level 3 spell, so he decided to help her after he finished his work. After a while, Ryota started complaining about burning the garbage and that it makes no difference no matter how much they burn it, and when Celeste asked why there was so much today, she guessed that the Labyrinth Lord had appeared recently and told him that the Labyrinth Lord appears once every few months and is a monster so powerful and dangerous that it prevents entering the labyrinth during his appearance, making humans consume more food during that time. He asked her to rest for the day and take care of the garbage, but the next day they found that people were still leaving a huge amount of garbage, so he decided to go and check on the labyrinth leader. When he entered Duke's office, he was surprised to find that Neptune was there at Duke's request to help take down the labyrinth master. Ryota repeated the same request, but Duke told him that their agreement with Hetero City was that the two cities would join forces and assemble a joint force to defeat the labyrinth master, but no one from their side had been assigned to Neptune's group. He then added that Hetero didn't bother to confront the boss because they didn't want his presence to affect the environment of the maze and thus change the items extracted from it and put them at a disadvantage. So Ryota decided to go alone without waiting for a joint force to form, but he learned that no single individual is allowed to confront the boss, as the terms stipulate that a group of at least 3 people with a rank of A or higher are allowed to enter the maze at the time of the boss's appearance. He suggested to Neptune that they go to the labyrinth together, but Neptune refused because his group came under an agreement to form a joint force and represent Sakuro's side, preventing him from acting on his own. So Ryota decided to look outside for people to help him enter the labyrinth. When he wandered around looking for people to help him defeat the labyrinth's leader, he was rejected by everyone, as they were just people who came to take advantage of the tax break they would receive and didn't care about anything else. Ryota returned to the camp feeling frustrated that he couldn't find new partners, and then he found Emily standing ready to greet him and told him that she was ready to go with him to defeat the maze boss. So he told her that they couldn't enter the maze alone and they had to find a third person, and then Celeste appeared and told him that she intended to go with them to carry out the mission after she managed to manage the trash by having someone to help her burn it, and Ryota was surprised that this person is Eugene. Ryota wonders if he will be able to handle it alone, but Eugene tells him that he brought a group of people to work together to accomplish the mission. Ryota feels reassured, and when they are excited to go to the maze, he tells them that they all have to be A-rated or higher to be allowed to enter. Celeste had him look at her stats and found her intelligence and willpower to be in the A range, though her extraction was low, and she told him that she would have no trouble with him and that she wanted to help them get back to their city safely. Ryota wondered why all the monsters in the labyrinth would leave when the boss appeared, making the loot disappear as well, so they had to get rid of him quickly. The labyrinth boss suddenly appears from underground and turns out to be a huge black horse with 2 horns. Celeste tells them that it is known as the Purity-Tainted Bicorn, so they decide to attack it, but they find that it has a protective barrier and is able to block Emily's attack. Then he approached her, and when he was about to finish her off, Ryota tried to shoot him, but to no avail, and at least give Emily time to get a safe distance away. So he asked Celeste to support him with fire magic to weaken the barrier, and then they succeeded in breaking the boss barrier, and he became defenseless, but he quickly reactivated it again before Emily hit him with her hammer. Ryota decided to repeat the same series of attacks again with Celeste, and they continued to try to damage the boss, but to no avail. When they insisted on continuing the attack, Emily rushed towards him, but the boss activated a magic circle underneath, causing her to fall helplessly, and Ryota found that all his stats except strength and health had been reduced by 2 ranks. Emily made a surprise strike and managed to break his protective barrier, then told Ryota that he had lowered all of her stats. They found Celeste suffering after losing all of her magical power, so he asked Emily to take care of her while he took care of the boss on his own. Celeste felt grateful to him for worrying about her health and remembered that everyone had always treated her like a machine and that she had been underappreciated all her life despite working hard until she met Ryota, who gave her a sense of confidence. Then she decides to fight back and keep fighting to support Ryota as he always does for her. She uses all her strength to perform a huge inferno attack and manages to break the boss's barrier. Then Emily gives her hammer to Ryota to finish him off, and he uses the opportunity to smash his head before he reconfigures the barrier and finally defeats him. Afterwards, Celeste was lying motionless on the ground, but was relieved when they told her that they had defeated the Bicorn. Ryota decided to give her the loot left behind by the boss, and when she took it, she found that she could now use level 1 fire magic, and Celeste was so grateful that she cried tears of joy. Afterward, they all went to meet Duke, who was shocked to learn that only the 3 of them had managed to defeat the boss and rushed rushed outside to tell all the adventurers about the achievement. When Neptune's girlfriends entered, Ryota asked them where he was, while Neptune scolded Harvard for missing his chance to fight with Ryota due to his constant harassment. The next day, Celeste experimented with bicorn pods and successfully used the first level of her magic, and when Ryota joined her, he told her that Celine's labyrinth was officially recognized as belonging to Sakura City and he could go home tomorrow. Then they both expressed their desire for Celeste to go with them to stay in Sakura as their companion, and Emily thought it was a good idea since they would all become a family. Evie, on the other hand, sat bored, eating poor quality carrots and waiting for Ryota to return to bring her favorite carrots. Meanwhile, Ryota was on his way home with Emily and Celeste, who attracted everyone's attention on her first visit. On their way, they met Erza, who welcomed Ryota back and was shocked when he introduced her to Celeste and told her that he would form a team with them called the Ryota family. She changed the subject and told him that she wanted to help with the Harvest Festival, then quickly fled back to the guild. After a while, Celeste and Emily went to gather information about the Harvest Festival, and when they returned, they told Ryota that it was an annual festival held in the city to showcase the goods collected throughout the year and then dispose of them when they turned into stray monsters. Ryota decides to take a seat at the festival and tells them that he went to the Nihonium Labyrinth to boost his stats and continued to eliminate many monsters until he succeeded in collecting many seeds inside Pandora's box. Celeste was surprised to find that the seeds inside the box had turned into stray monsters, while Ryota rushed towards them to eliminate them and collected a new type of bullet that helps immobilize opponents, but they were surprised to find that there was chaos in the city and found that a rare trophy had turned into a stray monster and was causing destruction in the city. When they headed towards the ruins, they found that they were pumpkin monsters, so they attacked them all at once using their skills, but Emily and Celeste's skills did not affect them, so Ryota decided to use his physical strength and rush towards the pumpkin. Then he picked it up, lifted it up, and fired restricted bullets at it, and after he succeeded in restraining it, he erased its presence using ice bullets with fire. When he returned to Emily, he found that her hammer was damaged. He thought about buying her a new hammer, but she was embarrassed and tried to fix her hammer instead, but she broke it completely. She was so frustrated that she gave up on the idea of buying a new one. The next day, arms dealer Smith came to meet them after hearing that they wanted to buy a new hammer for Emily and offered to give them a new hammer for free on the condition that he would have the right to use Ryota's family name since they were the most popular in the city, and Emily accepted his offer immediately. Ryota then went to the maze and met Princess Margaret and her assistants. The assistant told him that they were having trouble selling their airboxes, so he suggested they sell something else and thought they could sell rings because they fit Margaret's personality. They found Margaret surrounded by several monsters and unable to fight them, so Ryota got rid of them before they could harm her and saved her, then offered to give him the first ring they made for free as a thank you for the idea. Meanwhile, Emily was discussing the new hammer modifications with Smith and telling him all the details when Evie burst into the room and rushed out after Emily told her where Ryota was. After that, Ryota headed to Tololo Maze after collecting many seeds in his new box, while Evie went to Nihania Maze to look for him and then decided to head to Tololo, and when she didn't find him there, she went to the guild and felt desperate not to find him. After that, Ryota went to the guild and asked Erza what favor she wanted to ask him, and she said that she wanted him to collect rare loot and sell it to her before the festival. Then she gave him a list of the loot she wanted and paid for the loot he got today, and when he found it was a small amount, she told him that the person in charge of the maze that drops the money was arrested for corruption, so they are short of banknotes, and that's when Ryota realized that there is a maze where money is extracted as loot. Then he decided to see if money could turn into a monster. The banknote turned into a large bird, and when he eliminated it, he got a potion that boosted his extraction rate by 3 ranks for 10 minutes, which he thought was worthless to him since his normal extraction rate is at rank S. Evie rushes up to him after finally finding him and begs him to give her carrots, so he goes with her to the Tolola maze and gives her a large amount of carrots. When he asks her why she didn't ask her teammates for carrots, she tells him that she left her team because she thought they were troublemakers. Then she remembered when she was young and didn't get along with the others because of different tastes, and when she left them and took out a monster on her own, she was able to take out a small child her age who had no idea what was going on. Then another monster appeared in front of them, and when she got rid of it, she impressed the boy and asked her to teach him how to kill monsters, so she continued to face monsters and beat them in front of him until he was able to defeat a monster by himself, and then he got a carrot, but she asked him to throw it away because at that time she loved meat and hated vegetables. But he told her not to be picky about food, and when he divided it between them and made her eat the carrot, she became very fond of it and it became her favorite food, and when he gave her his share, he felt something strange around his body and then disappeared in front of her as if he wasn't there. Ryota realizes that she is a biased person and tells her that she should get her own food if she likes it so much. She tells him that her extraction rate is low, which makes her food disgusting. He decides to give her the stone he got, and when she drinks it, he tells her that her extraction rate is temporarily at a high level. When she tries it on a slime monster, she realizes that he's right and that she she can get high-quality carrots, so she asks him about the store that sells the boosting potion, but he tells her that it's an item that only he can find and is surprised when Evie asks her to join his team. In the evening, Ryota returns with Evie after becoming a member of his family and finds that Emily has finished making her new hammer and welcomes the idea of Evie joining the team to become a member of Ryota's family. The next day, Ryota wakes up and finds that Celeste has a painful headache. When he asks her, she tells him that this is the effect of the magic storm, as she cannot use magic and begins to feel painful symptoms in her body. Ryota decides to take the day off from the mazes and goes to look for a bigger house for them to help Celeste not be affected by the magic storms. They find a suitable house in one of the buildings and Celeste feels better as soon as she sets foot inside. After they all like the house, they found that the rental price was higher than the market price since it was built with the latest technology, but Ryota decided to rent out anyway as long as they felt comfortable in it. The next day, they all moved into the big house and the magical storm disappeared, so Ryota decided to head to the Tololo maze to start collecting the items that Urza had asked him, and when they went to the 7th level, he was surprised that the place was a snowy forest. On their way through the labyrinth, they found the senile old man they had encountered on one of the floors before with his assistants, and he was crying with joy after they had managed to get some hard-earned loot and felt proud of his assistants. And when Ryota saw that they were pleased with his praise, he realized that he had succeeded in brainwashing them with nonsense. When he continued on his way with the others, he found a new type of slime monster, and when he shot it, he found that it did not penetrate its body. Celeste told him that this type of slime is on the verge of death and does not receive damage from the last person who attacks it. Then she used her magic and got rid of it easily, and over time they managed to extract the onions from the slime. Emily thought about cooking curry when they got home, and when Ryota relaxed his defense and joined in the conversation, he was attacked by a different slime monster than the one they had defeated before, and Celeste warned him that this type reverses the attacks he receives, but they managed to defeat it with the help of Evie, who told them that she had beaten this type of slime before. After that, they obtained a gem that helps reverse the attacks directed at them, and when Ryota tried it, the monster died without touching him because of the damage he received from his attacks, but it would take longer to die, so he decided to sell the gem to Urza because it is rare. When they went to her, they were surprised that she bought the gem from them for 3 million bilo and told them that the price of goods is high due to the approaching harvest festival, and that the level of trust that adventurers have in her will increase thanks to the goods she gives them. After they left, Urza noticed that a young girl was looking for a team to join. The next day, Ryota defeated a monster and obtained a seed that increases his magical abilities. Remembering that he didn't know how to use magic in the first place, he went to Celeste, who made him buy a magic fruit with the money he received from selling the anti-attack gem, and told him that if he ate it, he would gain a random magic spell. Ryota thought to see if the fruit would turn into a stray monster, but to his surprise, it turned into a metal version of himself. He decided to confront himself and found that the metal version was hard, fast, and strong, and realized that he was taking on 80% of his attributes. When he defeated it, the fruit returned to its original form, in addition to gaining 2 magic spells instead of 1. And when he ate it, he could use wind magic, and the other spell made it possible to grant loot extraction rate to anyone who defeated the monster he cast the spell on. Emily was excited about the second spell because it would help them level up next to him. On his way home, he meets Urza and helps her carry her heavy stuff to the guild. When they arrive, he notices a little girl looking for a team to join in the guild until she meets this old fool who agrees to take her on his team. He decides to save her before she throws herself to the ground by joining that old man's team. He walks up to them and tells him that he wants the girl on his team and never intends to leave her. The girl is surprised that someone wants her on his team, and Urza tells her that she's lucky to join Ryota's royal family. When she found that he is a big deal among everyone, she agreed to join his team, and then the old man felt angry and left in silence. Then the girl told him that she is called Alice and Ryota officially included her in his team. Then they went together to the stats list to check her level and found that her stats are hopeless, and at the same time, he felt that she may have special abilities to fight inside the mazes. After they entered Nihonium's maze, he was surprised that she was happy and excited about it. When he asked her, she told him that she felt nostalgic inside the maze since she was born in a maze as her mother had told her in the past, and found that she could locate the monsters in the mazes. Then he tied up the monsters and asked her to get rid of them to raise her level, and when she did so, they went back to the stats panel to check her level, and then he realized that she would not be able to raise her level any further. Then Alice interrupted his thinking and asked them to go back inside because she heard one of the monsters telling her to go back. Ryota was surprised by her words, but when they went back inside, he found that there was indeed a skeleton and helped Alice eliminate it, but he was surprised that it shrank in size and turned into a small skeleton, and then Alice grabbed him and told him that he would be a member of their team from now on. Ryota was surprised that the skeleton became their ally and helped them get rid of the monsters, and he started calling Alice his big sister according to her words. Then he found her taming the slime monster after it had shrunk in size. In the evening, Ryota returns home with Alice and her new friends, and Emily and Celeste welcome her warmly. Impressed by her ability to tame tamed the maze monsters and gained them as allies, they all agree to take her in to become part of the family. A few days later, it's time for the Harvest Festival, and when Ryota wakes up, Emily tells him that Celeste and Evie have gone to the labyrinth to collect carrots, while Alice has decided to stay in her previous home today because Skeleton and Slime are afraid of Celeste and her suspicious behavior towards them. Ryota decides to go with her and finds that she is very excited about the atmosphere of the festival and the crowds of people gathered in front of the markets. After enjoying themselves for a while, they go to meet Alice, who tells them that she found a strange shop on her way to them. When they went there, they found a store selling experience points at a low price. When Ryota asked the merchant what the points were, he told him that they were points for a maze called Alakil and were extracted from a monster called the Painted Mouse, so he thought it would be a good idea to help Emily level up. After that, they bought a box, went to a clearing, and waited for the Painted Mouse to appear. After they got rid of it, Ryota acquired a new type of bullet, booster bullets, and when he tried them out, he found that they enhanced the power of the bullet that was loaded, so he decided to go back to the store to buy more experience points. After acquiring several boosted bullets, they are surprised by the appearance of a stray monster in the city, so he rushes towards it and manages to save one of them. Then Emily attacks it, but they discover that it grows in size after each blow. Then they found Neptune standing behind them and decided to help them take down the giant monster. Then he ordered his friends to use their abilities to strengthen him, and then Ryota was surprised that he gained wings and could fly until he reached the height of the giant. Then they all attacked the monster at once and finally managed to get rid of it. After that, Celeste and Evie joined them after returning from the labyrinth, and Ryota told them about the giant monster and Neptune's team helping them, and Neptune expressed his admiration for Ryota's new team and asked him if he wouldn't consider leaving them and joining his team, but he always refused, so Neptune gave up and was satisfied with the honor of fighting by his side once. After that, Ryota and his companions continued to wander around the market and shops and were enjoying their time at the festival until Alice sensed a group of monsters near them and realized that the harvest competition had begun and the goods were turning into stray monsters. And when Ryota thought about participating, he found that he would have to choose only one of them to become his partner in the competition. He decides to choose Celeste to fulfill this role due to her great experience with monsters, and when they head to the battlefield, they manage to get rid of a super slime monster by combining their powers together. He notices that Celeste is fighting harder than usual and tells him that she wants to be an important teammate like Emily. In the evening, they check out the rare gadget they got from defeating the super slime and find that it's just fireworks. When they try it out, they have a lot of fun with it, and Ryota remembers that he hasn't played with fireworks since he was a kid. While they were talking, he felt a sudden change in Alice, and she started walking in a certain direction, but when he stopped her, she regained consciousness and told them that she felt someone calling her from the direction of the Nihania maze, so he decided to check it out tomorrow since it was late. The next day, Ryota went to meet the city leader Clint, who told him that the loot in the mazes had disappeared since yesterday and felt bad about it, so he asked Ryota to investigate, and when he went to the Tolola maze with his companions, they found that the monsters weren't leaving any loot behind. Then they realized that this would affect the city's economy and everyone's financial situation. When Evie caught a slime monster, she asked Ryota to kill it and get a carrot, but he was sure it wouldn't work. Then he was surprised that they got a carrot after he got rid of the slime, and he remembered what happened with Alice yesterday and went to check the Nihania maze, and there he found a mysterious woman and realized that she is the reason for the disappearance of the loot from the mazes and that she is the leader of the maze, and when he shot her, he was surprised that she disappeared and attacked him, and he felt that he was in trouble because all his attacks would not harm her. Ryota tries to attack Neonium's leader with all kinds of bullets, but to no avail and finds that the bullets pass through her like a ghost while she continues to beat him at will, but Ryota insists on continuing the fight even though he has no chance of winning. Then he realized that her limbs were the only areas he could hit with bullets, so he fired bullets at them and managed to reduce her speed and strength a little, and when he ran out of bullets, he decided to use his fist to attack her after he got close enough to her. Then he took the opportunity and shot directly at her head and managed to beat her before he fell to the ground from fatigue. After a while, he regained consciousness and found Emily next to him. Then she picked up his gun and loaded it with healing bullets and fired it at him to heal his body from his injuries. Then she told him that the monsters were leaving the loot behind again thanks to him, and that he had managed to save everyone, and asked him not to hurt himself again as she felt pain when he got hurt. And after she got up, Ryota found a small ring lying around. After that, they got out of the maze and met up with the others. He decided to go to Tolola maze to get enough carrots for Evie, and the next day he went alone to Nihania maze to try the maze leader's ring and found that it helps in obtaining a gem to counteract attacks from monsters. On his way, he met Princess Margaret and her assistants, and they told him that the idea of selling rings will not work for a while, so they decided to focus on dragon monsters, but the princess cannot kill a dragon on her own despite her high level. So Ryota took a look at her stats and found that her skills are low despite her high level, unlike him, so he decided to give her a gem to help her kill a dragon and increase her stats level. When he saw that it was working, he decided to give her a set set of gems that significantly increased her stats. She felt grateful to him for helping her and offered to accept a set of rings as a token of thanks, but he felt embarrassed and thought about leaving to go home. Afterward, he gathered his companions and told them that he had bought all the bean sprouts and carrots in the market to turn them into slime monsters and dispose of them to raise their level dramatically thanks to the ring's unique power. When the food turned into slime monsters, they began to get rid of them one by one, and when the jewels fell from his ring, Emily and Celeste picked them up and were able to level up significantly and reach the maximum level. Emily felt sorry for Ryota because he couldn't level up beyond the first level despite his hard work, but he told her that he had gained so much experience and expertise in this world that he was able to share his experiences and development with them through the ring, and thought it was time for his family to move on to the next level. Over time, the Ryota team became highly regarded and popular among the people thanks to their skills and development, and they went together to get Emily and Celeste a license to enter level 6 of the Tylol Labyrinth. Feeling that things were going well, Ryota surprised them by deciding that each of them should carry out their daily hunting tasks alone for a while to utilize their talents, and asked them not to work overtime even if they didn't make enough profit. Each of them started working alone for a few days, and when they met again to check the results, he was shocked to find that Evie had made 120,000 pelos in 6 days from the carrots, but she ate it all. Then he found that the others had made a good amount of profit as well, while he had made 1.5 million, and realized that they could all make about 2 million in one day, and decided to buy them each a magical carriage with superpowers. The next day, Ryota went to the guild to check the records of his trips to the mazes, and Urza told him that his total number of trips so far was 16. He told her that he intended to continue visiting the mazes and making money, and asked her to work for his team exclusively from now on to handle the accounts. Urza was now part of Ryota's big family, and he felt relieved that they could go hunting without worrying about home and loot, and over time he felt happy to be reborn in this world. After that, they all decided to have a welcome party for Urza, and Ryota was surprised that Neptune and his friends were invited to the party. Then he found Princess Margaret and her followers came to visit him at home to thank him for helping her, and gave him a bouquet of flowers and invited Emily to come in and celebrate with them, followed by the merchant Orton and his daughter Olga, and then Chief Clint. And then Ryota felt very lucky to have so many friends in the new world and that he was living a happy life.